All right. All right. So, you can probably hear my wind chimes real freaking loud. It's very windy, but yeah, I don't know. I just randomly decided story time. I had a surgery and got part of my liver removed. Pretty wild. Pretty wild. Um, so I figured I would just do like a story time. Um, I found out in 2022, alone in an emergency room, that I had a sorry, that I had a mass on my liver. They didn't tell me much. The doctor kind of berated me on like, do you drink? How much do you drink? You need to stop drinking. Not sure that drinking causes tumors, but I don't drink. And that would be a continuing problem, especially because as years went on, my tumor started causing issues with my liver enzymes, the levels. And I was constantly getting accused of drinking. And actually, only recently have I started occasionally, I'll have like maybe a margarita at Texas Roadhouse. Like, I never drank. For years, never. Even still, it's not like hardly at all. But it's the most I have probably my whole adult life. So back then it was like zero. But I ended up, again, alone in a hospital room. They didn't give me much information. They handed me a paper and said that I needed to call one of the two people on it. So I called, I guess I just called the first person on the list, and it ended up being like a local GI doctor. And he told me that he thought that I had what would be called a focal nodular hyperplasia tumor, which essentially is a benign tumor that cannot ever be malignant. Like, it can't change. It will always be benign. But he sent me to OSU in Columbus to get a double check. And then from there on, that doctor said, yes, that's what it is. Because my tumor was large when they found it, so that was part of his concern. And from there on, I was monitored by OSU like yearly. I had probably like 3 or 4 MRIs total before it got removed. And I was doing my checks. I would have a lot of pain in that area. And as time went on, I mean, every year they just kept saying, yep, looks good. But when I brought up, well, I have a lot of pain there. I'm having some acid reflux that I think could be caused by it. Well, it's non-symptomatic. It's benign. Okay. Shutting me down. Well, then I found out that I have a hernia. And my abdominal muscles are also like separating. And so they sent me to a local surgeon. And when I went there, he was like, hey, so like, I'm really concerned about this tumor. He's like, that's the only thing I'm concerned about. Because, okay, maybe it's benign, that's great. But here's the thing, too. My tumor did grow. And focal nodular hyperplasia tumors should not grow. Another fun fact, they are apparently exceptionally common side effects of birth control pills. So jot that down. But they typically don't cause problems. However, mine had grown to a point where it was about, I think at its largest, it was like 10 by 9 something. So essentially a 10 by 10 centimeter tumor, which is, I mean, it's large right there where you have all these other organs. And he was like, your colon should be over here, and instead it's over here. that's kind of where my thinking was going, is like, okay, the tumor can't cause symptoms, but that doesn't mean that the size of it cannot. And so that doctor was like, you need to message your doctor and like mention this. Message my doctor on my chart. He did not care. He said, everything looks the same. It's great. We'll see you regular time. Just like when I mentioned how my liver enzyme levels were elevated, they didn't really give a fuck. So, pardon my language. Well, anyways, so I asked for a second opinion. I ended up being sent to Riverside Hospital in Columbus for that second opinion. First appointment, this cancer surgeon, which is the same kind of doctor I was seeing at OSU, he takes me so seriously. He's like, you know, if you feel like you know your body better than anyone, if you feel like it's causing you problems, then I trust that. He touched the area and it was so sore to the touch, and he was like, yeah, we're gonna remove that. 2 weeks later, I was having surgery, baby. It's been over a year, closer to a year and a half. So I had surgery November of 2024. It's March of 2026. My liver enzyme levels are back to completely normal. So that was one of my big concerns. They were jumping and jumping. They were still pretty low in terms of elevated, but towards the end, like right before my surgery, they went from being elevated but under 100, and I'm talking like my ALT and AST for anyone who knows what the hell I'm talking about. They were elevated but under 100, and then like the last check before surgery, and then even subsequently thereafter, they were over 100. And they were in the hundreds somewhere. So still low, elevated, but elevated and climbing consistently. And they're back to normal. So with my surgery, they removed a portion of my liver, the entire tumor, and my gallbladder. So big surgery. And I came home, everything was fine. I mean, it was probably one of the harder surgeries I've ever recovered from. And I've had 2 C-sections. But even still, like, I mean, scar-wise, if you can see, they did it laparoscopically. I've had a few laparoscopic surgeries, so, like, it's hard to really show the scars because I have so many from so many different... I've had a lot of surgeries on my abdomen. 2 C-sections, appendectomy. I had a surgery for, I think it's pronounced adenomyosis, and hydro something or other, where my fallopian tubes had fluid in them. Those are all other stories I can go into if you feel like it. Let me know. This is just one of the many different things that I felt like posting on here. I'm going to post a variety of stuff. It's not all just going to be story times. It's not all just going to be health stuff. Eventually, I do want to talk about my autism diagnosis and things correlated to that. But to finish this one off, because we're close to the end, I am so glad that I advocated for myself and got a second opinion. That doctor down there was lovely. I ended up being transported back to the hospital after my surgery because one morning I woke up and it felt like I was being stabbed in my liver. Like, stabbed. Bad. Like pain. And it would not let up. They would give me morphine. They gave me Dilaudid. Would not let up. And I was there for 6 days. I ended up having my 3rd endoscopy while I was there. They could not find anything that was causing it. Finally, on the 6th day, they gave me Toradol, which is the same medication they give me when I have migraines. And I woke up the next morning and I could have cried because it was the first thing that worked. And I was like, thank you, bro. Like, and I hopefully, like, I don't know, my fear is that anytime I'm in pain, like, because I have had a lot of chronic pain issues, especially having adenomyosis, or again, however it's pronounced, I don't know. I always say adenomyosis, but I don't think that's right. I think it's adenomyosis or something. Endometriosis is ugly cousin. You know what I mean? Um, but I would go to the ER a lot in so much pain. Um, and I feel like they always would just assume I was there for medication. And like, that's the last, I want to know why I'm in pain. I want to make sure that my pain is not an emergency, not that I am expecting you to, just perfectly cure it. Like, just give me answers. And so, like, it was refreshing to me that the fix was like an anti-inflammatory, and that also kind of gave me all the answer I needed, really, right? Because I assume, especially because they're subsequently after, I would randomly have allergic reactions to shit, to stuff. And and it would be like, oh, I ate McDonald's for lunch. I've eaten McDonald's my whole life. Like, why would that cause a reaction? And it wouldn't be like a big reaction, or I would just have all these other reactions, and it's like my body just kind of spiraled out of whack. Like, I was having issues with my blood counts after my surgery for the adenomyosis, which was like 4 months after my liver surgery. That my gyno, she was like sending me for lab draws. There was 1 week I had to go 4 times in that week because they kept coming back abnormal, and she was like, what is going on? And she speculated that the liver surgery, because they took part of my liver, and your liver does regenerate, but it's like my body was like thrown into shock from that happening. And so it kind of just had an autoimmune response where it was just attacking itself because, it kind of thought that it needed to do that. And it makes so much sense because, again, a year and 4 months later? Because I had my other surgery a year ago. So a year and 4 months later now, I feel so much better. And I'm so grateful for it. And it was a hard surgery. And it was so painful. And so long. I was back there so long. I remember I kept waking up in the recovery room. They were trying to find the right medication to help my pain enough, and it was just misery. But I'm grateful for it. I'm glad I did it. I would do it again if I had to go back. And yeah, I don't know. It was pretty scary finding out alone in a hospital room by myself because, I wasn't told, hey, it's benign. And even when you hear it's benign, like, you're worried. Like, I was researching so heavily. But, before that, it's like, I don't want to tell anyone about this. Like, I'm so nervous. I don't want to scare anybody. Like, what if it is something? And, yeah, anyways, it was just an experience. And I'm grateful to be where I am. And maybe other people could find this and just be intrigued, or I don't know. I think anyone who may be having a similar situation, or maybe you need to go through a similar surgery, hopefully this helps, or maybe it helps you be inspired to advocate for yourself. I don't know. But I got the random tug on my heart to make this video, and I'm going to trust my gut. It said make the video, I made the video. It's not going to be perfect. There's probably not going to be any edits. Sorry for my couple of little curse words or but we're working with it. We're getting used to making content. We're getting used to just sharing what we have to share because I have so much experience to share. And yeah, this will find, I'm confident, those who it should find. Peace out, weirdos.